This very yellow and very dirty wedge of plastic, amongst bunches of equally filthy wires and power bricks, is an Atari 520 ST. We, and by that I mean my friend Grant from Neon Arcade Grant on Twitch, and I, dug it out of a garage full of all sorts of random stuff which was attached to a house that was about to be condemned. Luckily, we were able to get quite a bit out of that garage before it was too late, including this Atari and this wonderfully rare G3 Molar Mac, which we'll see more of in Marchintosh. But for the moment, let's focus on the ST520. Let's see just what we're getting into. Alright, got the ST here. It's pretty disgusting. I've got the mouse too. They're both pretty disturbingly yellow and dirty, and I should probably be wearing gloves, but I've already handled this enough. If something was gonna kill me, it would have done it by now. I'm gonna get the mouse out of the way first and just focus on the computer itself. Because of how dirty this is from the outside, there is no chance I am turning this on until I have seen what's going on the inside. Since I've never opened an Atari ST before, I had a little bit of trouble, but I very quickly found the 6 screws on the bottom and took them out. They were a little bit corroded, and I'm pretty sure I'll do replacement screws when I close this back up. Once I had the screws out, I could take the top off the case, and that's when I decided to put on some gloves because, oh, this is much nastier than I expected. I quickly wiped the keyboard down with some disinfecting wipes before disconnecting it from the main board. Oh. With the keyboard detached, there are a number of tabs to twist and take the top part of the RF shield right off of the main board. And while this thing gives me major Commodore 128 vibes as I am looking at the design, there are 3 screws holding the board to the bottom of the case, and then it pulls right out. That's going to be fun to clean. And with everything out of the case, we can finally take a look at this board and see what we've gotten ourselves into. These are all moldy. So there's 68,000. A couple of QFP chips. Let's see if anything exploded. I don't trust this cap, but I don't think it exploded. You definitely leaked. You leaked, but it doesn't look like you went very far, so that's probably salvageable. And we're going to recap the whole board anyway, but it doesn't, other than the RAM, it doesn't look too horrible. Although someone did something here. Look at this. This is definitely some kind of mod to the RAM. I'm guessing maybe a 1 meg RAM upgrade? I mean, it's the same RAM, just double stacked with some extra control lines, it looks like. Again, I know basically nothing about the Atari ST series. There's this bit here in the video circuitry that definitely doesn't look factory at all. And this maybe, but putting multiple legs through the same via doesn't sound like something you would do from the factory either. I don't know if it's coming through on the camera, but I'm pretty sure that's mold. I can't. I'm trying to not. So this is trying so desperately to do this delicately so I can get a good picture of it, but I was worried about scraping up these stickers so bad that I couldn't read them, so I grabbed a dry toothbrush and quickly brushed them off. And all it really says is high or low, 0, 1, 2, and which socket they go in, U2 through 7. Once we get them out of here, we can go take everything upstairs for a wash. Oh yeah, look at that. That's all. Well, it's not as bad as these were, but there's still some corrosion there. Oof. I'm hitting the plastics with some heavy-duty pot and pan cleaner. I say heavy-duty, not like restaurant heavy-duty, but it's non-power wash. It's pretty strong stuff for stuff you can get at the grocery store. I'm going to give it a minute to soak, just to let it kind of dig into the rust a little bit. One thing I found is when it comes to plastics, this stuff just gets in there and you can wipe it off and it works great. But since I have no idea how old this rust is or how long it's been sitting here, I'm also going to hit it with a light abrasive. It's not a super strong abrasive scrubby, but it's more than a paper towel, and I think that's kind of a good area to do this without potentially damaging the plastic. And as you can see, even with the power wash, I've still got to get in there with a little bit of elbow grease for some of these really caked in areas. I plugged up the sink so that I can soak this when I'm done and I don't have to pick these back up again, but I wanted to get the power wash kind of going on the top plastic as well. This piece is pretty yellow and there's nothing the soap's going to do about that, only a Retrobite's going to take care of that, but I still need to get it clean before I even think about the idea of retrobriting. While the big pieces are soaking and getting ready for a second scrubbing in the sink, and the mouse is broken down and in the ultrasonic cleaner, it's time to take a few minutes and take a look at this RF shield. It is very, very rusty, so I ran to Lowe's and I grabbed a can of Rust-Oleum rust protectant spray because I want to stop the spread of this rust as soon as I can. I also don't want it to get on anything else. So I'm going to cover this up with the spray, and I know someone's going to have a problem with this somewhere because not only is this the RF shield and it's a ground plane, it's also part of the heat dissipation system. So yes, I will probably have to go back through and scrape some of it off in some places, but for the moment I just want to stop the spread of the rust. And as you can see, the non-conductive paper that's put in there to keep it from shorting everything out is also just utterly disgusting. So I just took a piece of poster board and traced the shape on it and cut out a new one. The exposed components on the back of the keyboard, they look okay. I mean, I'm going to clean them up with some rubbing alcohol and a toothbrush just to make sure that the rust isn't making any inadvertent contact. What I am worried about is this rust, because it's under the tape. I mean, this rust is bad too. These components look like they've gotten wet, but they seem to be okay. This cap doesn't seem to be bulging. Well, like there's some residue on this 4 megahertz crystal here. I don't like that, but that's not anything I have to worry about at the moment. Diode seem to be, I mean, everything other than the rust, everything seems to be okay, I guess. You know, maybe it's surface rust, maybe it's a little deeper than that. I can't really tell. I think it's just surface rust. So this sits on top of the top RF shielding. So this rust and the rust that was on the top of this tape probably came from that. But the rust that's underneath it, underneath the tape, scares me a little bit. And it's not like worst texture. As I got to cleaning, it turns out that the tape protected all of these jumpers from the rust. Everything was on the surface of the tape, and I actually feel pretty good about this keyboard right now. Before we can put this back together and hook it up and see what happens, we need power. And while we were digging around, we found these 2 power bricks And my guess is one of these goes to the floppy drive, but we never found the floppy drive while we were digging around. So I'm going to take a look at the two of these. The bigger one outputs plus or minus 12 volt and significantly more on the 5 volt rail. So I'm going to assume that that's the one for the computer. Plus they have different plugs, so it should be pretty easy to figure out which one goes with which. They're both pretty dirty on the outside, so I'm a little worried about what will be on the inside. And I'll show that in part 2. For now, I'm just going to get to plugging this in. And before I plug this in, I'll plug it into the wall. That didn't cause any problems last night. Pretty sure down is off. There's only one. So there's only one place this can plug in. Don't hear anything. Don't see any smoke in the power supply. Don't see anything in the board. Everything seems to be looking okay. Let's see if we let any smoke out. And granted, I don't know if anything's happening, but it's not smoking. That's a good start. Hopefully this does something. That's something. That's something. I don't know what it's doing, but it's doing something. Maybe it needs a keyboard. I don't know. I know, like you can boot a Commodore with no keyboard. I don't know if you can boot an Atari with no keyboard. So as you guys can probably guess from looking at the fact that I have more sound panels on the wall here than I did in the opening, and the fact that there is construction going on over here, it has been some time since I started this video. Unfortunately, I had carpal tunnel surgery on both my wrists, so that kind of took me out of commission for a while. But I'm back, and I'm making videos again. As you can see, the Atari ST has signs of life. We are getting that yellow solid screen. I don't know what that means. I don't know anything about the ST. I don't know anything about troubleshooting. I did hook it up through the RF modulator and got exactly the same thing. So it's not just that I've like connected to the wrong pin on the video output. From here, at least, it's doing something and I can start troubleshooting, and I'm really excited. So make sure to watch out for part 2 when hopefully I can get this thing working. And until then, I'll see you later.